Shake, and you're watching BeLight1 TV. I haven't had a great opportunity in updating you other than a series of tweets, Facebook, etc. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for their well wishes and their amazing support for my father. Just to recap, this is first of many posts that I intend on putting out there. My dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 9 months ago, back in January of this year. Pancreatic cancer at stage 4. So things were pretty, when we found out and we were told at Charing Cross, I think it was, no, it was at Hammersmith Hospital, Dr. Spalding. There's myself, my brother, Kuram, and my dad. We just didn't, it just hit us like a train. We had no idea what to expect. Because what led up to them discovering the cancer was that he had some series of back trouble over the years, and so they were doing more investigation. He had a rib issue, so in that investigation they realized there was nothing major wrong on his back and his spinal issues, and that's a whole different kettle of fish. And they just happened to find this lump that was growing in his the head of his pancreas. In their investigation, they realized it wasn't benign, it was malignant, it was spreading, and that it not only spread to the head, but it also spread to the tail of the pancreas. And not only that, for my father, that it actually then metastasized, and metastasize literally means that it spreads from the original location. So you have stage 1, 2, 3. Stage 1, that it's benign, there's a cyst or a lump, and it's in one place, one particular organ. Stage 2, that it's now bubbling and it's now, kind of populating in the same location. And in 3, that it's now really found, legs and feet, and it's now spreading in that organ. And stage 4 is when it's now very comfortable where it is, it's grown into its lump, or the tumour mass has grown, and now it's metastasizing, now it's populating in other parts of the body, and in my dad's case, the liver. So the liver wasn't, spread all over, but there was a portion where there was signs of the tumour and the cancer spreading to the liver. Prior to all of this, surprisingly, he had no symptoms, where he would have digestive problems or food eating disorders, where he'd have dislikes, none of that. So like I said, the run-up to this was very, very, it's kind of a shock. Well, it still is a shock. In 9 months on, we're here in September, and we're still fighting it. The doctors at the time told us that there's very little they can do other than chemotherapy or radiotherapy. It was inoperable, purely because it was stage 4, and because of his age, he's 72 now, that it was more risky to do a surgery, and because of it's stage 4, it's metastasized, that it will run the risk of more infection, hence populating the cancer, than doing any benefit. So then we went to I had a meeting with the oncologist, a team that is headed by a doctor named Dr. Wesson. I'm not going to say too much about Dr. Wesson at this point, but very undesirable doctor, certainly from a professional capacity, as well as really helping us as a family and my dad as an individual, as a patient, from an oncologist perspective. But those that were working underneath him, we had a discussion about the oncologist approach, which is chemotherapy. They booked him in for a chemotherapy. This is back in February of this year, of 2012. And then we had an 11th hour chat with one of the assistants at the oncologist department, And we said, well, I kind of asked this probing question and saying, well, what the success rate is, which you obviously want to know, and he said 13%, and I was shocked. I looked at my brother, and even he looked at me and thought, 13%. When you think of chemotherapy, you kind of subconsciously you think, well, obviously, because chemotherapy is talked about everywhere, as if it is the real alternative, or not the alternative, but the best mainstream prescription for someone who's got cancer. And so when he said 13, and I said, well, okay, 13 in what type of patient? Male, female, or young, old? I mean, he's 72, so in your ratio. And then he kind of said, look, you're going to have to ask the senior oncologist, the head oncologist, which is Dr. Wesson. Then a little later, Dr. Wesson came, and the reason I'm explaining this is also to put into perspective the reason why we went to a certain direction and why we are where we are here today. So Dr. Wesson came to the room, myself, my brother, and my father, and this is after we've been diagnosed, and this is about 3 weeks after, I think 2 weeks after. And I asked him the question, so, why, is it for a 70-year-old who's got stage 4 and everything else? And he refused to answer the question. And he got a bit uptight that I was questioning him or his authority or his whatever it was. We never saw him after that, ever, until 4 months afterwards. And at that point, myself, my brother, my dad, we sat down, we discussed it, we went home, we had another discussion, and we looked and researched about chemotherapy and its real effectiveness, and especially at stage 4. And then I wrote I would call a game changer email to a very primarily as a mentor, but I would call one of my dearest friends, because a true friend is the one that puts you on a trajectory that's only going to better your condition, irrespective of how you feel about it. Some friends can just tell you what you want to hear and that's it. But amazing. And he told, and I'll come back to that as well, because that really does put the perspective. But when I received that response from my friend, we then looked at the chemotherapy, and we thought, no way, we're not going to do this, because most of the people who actually go through chemotherapy nosedive very quickly. It kills all the good cells as well as the bad cells. So it may be killing the cancer, but then if the cancer is repopulating at stage 4, which remember at this point it's repopulating at a exponential rate, that the chemo's game plan is kill everything and hope that the body survives in the process of killing the cancer. And that doesn't necessarily work in a large portion. If 13%, from what he had said in the room, in the clinical room that we sat in, 13% survive the first year, and then the figures just go down, which they call the survival rate. 5-year survival rate is like they think, well, that's it, he's done. It's a miracle that they made it to 5 years. So the statistics just go down to 2 or 3%. So we didn't want to put Dad through that, and the side effects are phenomenal. And again, if this is going to be Dad's, few days of whatever he's got, then we don't want him to suffer. And chemo seems a very sufferable approach to something that there is no cure for, or known cure in the mainstream. So then when we looked at the alternative, that's when the world just opened up. And that's where we were at in February of this year. So my next post would be really about that letter and how we went on an alkaline-based diet and gone holistic and looking at the naturopathic way forward to heal and support and save our father's life. Thanks for watching.